Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to be detectives. We are launching a full-on scientific investigation to figure out the real cause of our planet's warming. We're going to follow the evidence, line up the suspects, and land on a verdict based on nothing but the facts. All right, let's get into it.
And this is the perfect question to kick things off, right? It's a totally fair point. The Earth's climate has always been in flux. We're talking massive ice ages, super warm periods, long before we ever showed up. So what's the big deal this time around? That is the mystery we're here to solve. Okay, so our investigation really kicks off with this one single, undeniable fact. It's the speed of the warming that's happening right now that sets it apart. It's this huge spike, an anomaly in the climate record that just screams for an explanation. This is our starting point, our first big clue.
So first up, let's look at the crime scene, so to speak. We're gathering all the evidence for this planet's rising fever. And like any good detective, the first thing you do is line up the usual suspects. Those powerful natural forces that have always been in charge of our climate. Are they the culprits this time?
And suspect number one, naturally, is the big guy in the sky, the sun. It's the engine for our entire climate system. So, it just makes sense, right? If the planet's heating up, maybe the sun's just turned up its thermostat? Let's see what the evidence has to say.
The evidence here is, well, it's pretty revealing. When scientists lay out the data, this story just doesn't point to the sun. See that first bar? That's how much energy the sun's been sending our way. It's been pretty steady, no real increase. But then you look at the second bar. That's how much warming we've actually seen. It's not even close. The difference is huge. This mismatch is a major clue that the sun is not our guy.
And check this out. This is another huge clue. If the sun were responsible, you'd expect the whole atmosphere, top to bottom, to be heating up. But that is not what's happening. Instead, the lower part of the atmosphere, down here where we live, is warming up, while the upper atmosphere is actually getting cooler. That pattern is a classic fingerprint of heat being trapped from below, not coming in from above.
Okay, so if it's not the sun, what about other natural forces? Well, things like changes in the Earth's orbit. Those drive ice ages, but they happen over thousands of years, way too slow for this. Volcanoes? They actually cause short-term cooling. But honestly, here's the real nail in the coffin for all these natural suspects. The EPA has confirmed that every single year, human activities pump out over 100 times more CO2 than all the planet's volcanoes combined. 100 times. A number like that tells us we need to be looking somewhere else.
So, with the natural suspects pretty much cleared, our investigation takes a major turn. The evidence is now pointing to a totally different kind of influence, one that has left a very distinct fingerprint on our atmosphere.
This right here is the mechanism, the how it's all happening. The greenhouse effect, by the way, isn't a bad thing on its own. It's essential. Without it, the Earth would be a popsicle. It works like a natural blanket, trapping just enough heat. The problem, the real issue, is that our activities have been making that blanket thicker and thicker and thicker.
So what exactly is this thicker blanket made of? Let's meet the main players. You've got carbon dioxide, CO2, that's the big one, mostly from burning fossil fuels. But there are other powerful accomplices too, like methane from agriculture, nitrous oxide from farming, and some industrial gases. Altogether, these are what's trapping all that extra heat.
So, just how much thicker are we talking? Well, get this. According to NASA, the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere has shot up by 50% since the Industrial Revolution kicked off. 50%. In just a couple hundred years, that is a staggering, almost mind-boggling change for an entire planet's atmospheric system. And if you're looking for the smoking gun, this is it, right here. Scientists can look at ancient ice cores. Think of them like frozen time capsules. And what they found is that CO2 levels today are higher than they've been in at least 800,000 years. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some minor blip. It's completely off the charts for all of modern human history and way, way beyond.
So, let's recap where we are. We've looked at the natural suspects. They're in the clear. We've found the mechanism, this supercharged greenhouse effect, and we've found a very clear human fingerprint all over it. So now, it's time to hear the final verdict from the world's leading scientists.
And don't just take my word for it. Let's hear from the IPCC. That's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. We're talking about a body made up of thousands of the world's top scientists. Their conclusion is blunt. They say the idea of human influence has gone from just a theory to an established fact. In science, that is a huge deal.
And they didn't stop there. They've actually gotten even more certain.
In their most recent assessment, they used the word unequivocal. That's about as certain as science gets. It basically means there is zero doubt. It's their way of saying the case is closed. The evidence is just that overwhelming.
Okay, so let's just walk through the conclusion of our investigation one last time. First, we looked at the natural suspects, like the sun, and the evidence just isn't there. They can't explain this. Second, we saw clear proof that human activities have flooded the atmosphere with heat-trapping gases. So you put it all together, and the verdict, which is backed by this massive global scientific consensus, is crystal clear. Human influence is the main thing driving this.
So, our investigation is over. We followed the clues, and the cause is clear. The science has done its job. And that just leaves us with one final huge question. And this one isn't for the scientists anymore. It's for every single one of us. Now that we know, what do we do? Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.